Hey, welcome back to part 2 of my 2020 resolution series. Hey, if you're like me, then you're probably hoping that the upcoming year will be full of learning, growth, and some amazing success. Now, I'm super excited, I hope you are too, and I guess that's kind of why I decided to make this 3-part series. And part 1 was about what kind of goals do we want to set for the upcoming year. And that was last week's video. If you haven't seen it yet, make sure to check it out. And part 2 is this video, and that's about how to actually set our goals. And part 3, that'll be next week's video, that's going to be on how to ensure success with the goals that we've set. So, part 2, how to set goals. Now, I've tried to make it as simple as I can through a really easy and practical 4-step process. So stage 1 is about our reality. This is where are we currently sitting. Stage 2 is our desired outcome. Where do we want to go? So you'll probably notice there's a bit of a difference between where we are now and where do we want to go. So stage 3 is actually about how to close that gap. Stage 4 is looking at the previous 3 stages and figuring out a specific sentence that will become our actual goal. And I've also chucked in some final tips at the end for you. So stage 1, our reality. This is about assessing our current situation. And if you remember back to our video from last week, we had 5 different levels of goals to set. We had our financial goals, our learning goals, our health goals, our living goals, and our relationships goals. Now, if you've written them all down back from that past video and made them relevant to you, then you can look at how do you perform currently in each of those levels, in each of the categories that we set. So just assess your situation, see how you're going. For me, for example, if I think about going to the gym, it's something that over the last couple of years, I've got a home gym, and over the last few years, I've been off and on. Sometimes I'm like killing it and I'll be there every single day and I'm really committed. And then other times I fall into this, phase where it's just, I might go once a week, once a fortnight, or even less frequent than that. So for me, not happy about that. But if I'm assessing my current situation, so just being really, really critical of myself, then I would know that I'm not going to the gym as frequently as I'd like. So then we move along to our stage 2, which is our desired outcome. This is where do we want to be. Now, going back to my simple gym example, if I wanted to, get really fit and really strong, I would know that I need to be in the gym very regularly, and I have to be consistent, I have to be disciplined. So that would be my desired outcome, to be in the gym every single day, or at least every second day, and working on different muscle groups. And so that would be my desired goal. And it depends on which of the categories you've picked. But if you've gone through all of them, then some of these will make sense. So if you considered our learning with our reading, your reality, your current situation is you read very rarely, but your desired outcome is to be reading 1 book a month, for example. So it's all about looking at what do you want to achieve. Now, the second part of the desired outcome is actually just deciding and figuring out why you want to achieve it. So it's well and good to go, here I am now, here's where I want to be, and leaving it at that. But it's even more powerful if we can figure out why do we want to achieve that goal. So if I'm thinking about going to the gym every day or every 2 days, it sounds great, but why do I want to do that? Well, I guess the simple fact is I want to be healthy, I want to be strong, I want to be keeping fit, I want to demonstrate discipline for myself. Whether it's, even if it's not about just being healthy, it shows myself that I have the self-control to commit to something, and that would be enough to make it a worthwhile reward for me. So, and there's lots of other rewards such as, growing in strength, growing in endurance and fitness. And if you go back to that other reading example, why do I want to read? Well, I want to read because I want to learn. I want to be a continuous learner who's just thrives on gaining newer and newer knowledge, and improving, I guess, the way I think about the world. So I think that would be really powerful, because I know that the more I know, the more I understand, and the more I'm learning from others, the better the decisions I'll make in my life. So for me, that's super valuable, and I guess that would be why I want to do that. Then the final part to this is actually just considering the balance between challenging yourself and being realistic. And it's really, really difficult sometimes to set our goals, because so if we consider this, I'll keep using this gym example. I think that's really helpful. If we go too realistic, so we make it really easy for ourselves, and let's say I'm gonna go to gym once this year. Now it's great, it's good. You're setting a goal and you're committing to it, but it's too easy. Like anyone, it doesn't matter what kind of situation you're in. I'm sure one of the 365 days in the year, you'll be able to walk into the gym and do 20 minutes. You know, it's really easy. But if you were to say you've never been to the gym or you haven't been for the last year, and you set a goal saying, I'm gonna go for every single day for the next year. That's just way too challenging. So you've hit both ends of the spectrum where it's too easy and now it's too challenging. And if you go too easy, you're not gonna push yourself, you're not gonna get anywhere. If you go too challenging, you're likely to give up really, really soon. So find the balance. I guess a good example to actually balance your gym and building up into your activities would be going, okay, so for example, if you've never really gone to the gym, you say, okay, for the first month, I'm gonna go once a week and I'm just gonna go for 30 minutes. That's it. I'm gonna keep it real short, real simple. I'm going to lift some weights. I'm gonna just look around, see what's there, see what I like to do. I'm gonna walk on the treadmill for a few minutes. I'm gonna, whatever you wanna do, just figure some things out. But you're only gonna spend 30 minutes there. You're not gonna challenge yourself. You're not gonna push it too hard, and you're just gonna see what you like. Then in month 2, you say, okay, now we're in month 2, I'm going to spend an hour there, and I'm gonna go just once a week still, but I'm gonna spend an hour now. And this time I'm gonna go for the exercises that I enjoyed, the ones that I felt like were interesting to me or fun, or something you wanted to improve. And I'm going to work hard enough that I start to break a sweat and start to feel challenged by it. And when I leave, I feel tired, not extremely worn out and exhausted, but just you're feeling challenged. And then month 3, this is where you start to pick it up again. Now you set the goals for month 1 and month 2. Now you set some new goals. This is about what do you actually want to do with, say, if you're on the treadmill, how long you're going to be on the treadmill and how far do you want to run within 5 minutes, for example. So you can start setting more complex goals that are actually going to start to exhaust you in the sessions, and you might even increase your load or your frequency of going to the gym to twice a week. And then by month 4, you increase it to 3 times. And then by the end of the year, you're pretty much going daily or every second day, and you're feeling a lot fitter. You've got some specific goals of targets of, I want to be at this repetition or at this weight for this exercise and for that exercise. And all of a sudden, you got yourself into a fantastic program so that when you get to the next year, now you're setting some real goals. But it's all about just building up into it. Don't take it too fast, don't take it too slow, but just find the right balance between keeping it realistic and challenging. So anyway, I think that's really, really important. It's super hard to do. If I think about my reading example, so last year, as I said before, in the previous video, is I set a goal for 18 books in the year. And all that meant was reading 5% of a book a day. So super easy and, well, sorry, not super easy. I guess it's easy to do because I knew I could achieve it, but it was a challenge enough because I knew I hadn't been reading every day, and setting this 5% was enough to, it's about 20 pages, 15 to 20 pages typically, and I know that that's going to take me about 40 minutes. I'm slow as reader, but that was enough of a challenge to get me really focused and disciplined towards that goal. So that was stage 2, our desired outcome. So stage 3 is actually closing that gap. So how do we close the gap? And I've kind of been talking about it over the past section, but it's important to just consider it as its own little section of what are the action points, the specific action points that are going to be required to achieving our goal. And with that gym example, that was about setting a plan of what exercises do I need to do, how often do I need to do them, and what reps and what weights am I going to be achieving. So that's a part of the how. But another part of the how is what is it actually going to take? And I'm talking about psychologically and emotionally and physically, and looking at the sacrifices and the pains it's going to take to achieve that goal. And if this gym example is perfect, because if you think about what are you going to have to sacrifice, well, maybe you're going to have to sacrifice a bit of extra sleep, so 30-40 minutes of sleep. So that's a sacrifice you'll have to make. Or maybe it's, if you're doing your exercises at the end of the day, you're going to have to sacrifice 45 minutes of relaxation time. You're after work, you're tired, but you're going to sacrifice a bit of relaxation to actually doing the gym workout because that was your goal. And the other part of it is the pains. So what kind of pain are we going to experience when trying to achieve our goal? With our exercise, you could say that It's exhausting, it's tiring, it's not easy when you're gonna reach that point where you're exhausted and you don't want to keep going, but you're gonna have to push through because you need to reach your expectations and your goals. So there's gonna be a lot of pain involved in that. And I guess the reason we want to think about these before we start the goals is we need to understand that it's not always easy. When we're setting goals and we're challenging ourselves, there's going to be sacrifice and there's going to be pain. And it's going to be emotional pain or physical pain. But we need to decide, is that pain worth it for what we want to achieve? So is the pain and the sacrifice worth achieving our desired outcome? And I would say oftentimes it pretty much always is. And it's not always easy, it's never going to be easy really, but when you really think about why do you want to achieve that goal, if you wanted to go to the gym to be healthy and be fit, the perks of being healthy and fit far outweigh the sacrifice and the pain that you're going to experience. At the beginning it's going to be more painful and it's going to take more sacrifice, but once you're healthy, maintaining it is just, it's a small effort, just incremental little changes, and you've already got the momentum, so it's easy from there. But it does take sacrifice and it does take pain at the start. So I guess the other tip to that is just starting really small. Set your goal, make it a challenging goal, but set realistic starting points. So like I was mentioning with the gym example, you don't want to go just straight flat out every single day for the year, because you're not going to be able to achieve that. But if you say, I'm going to go once today, I'm going to go once next week, I'm going to go once the week after, you're far more likely to be able to achieve it. And then you increase the days, you increase the time you're there, you increase the frequency, and that's how you build the momentum for your goal. Now at uni, they've taught us this really, really cool goal setting method, and it's something we have to use for our business plans and business reports, but I guess it can be applied with just your general goal setting for your personal life as well. And it's called our SMART objectives. And someone really smart put it all together, and they said a goal needs to have these 5 components. First, it needs to be specific, so our S. Then it needs to be measurable, our M. Then it needs to be actionable, our A. It needs to be realistic, our R, and finally it needs to be time bound. So we need to actually have a time frame around our goal. Now I really think if we can create a goal that uses all 5 of these components, then we're setting ourselves up for big success. And it just makes it a whole lot easier. It gives us exactly what we're trying to do, exactly when we're trying to do it, and we need to be able to confirm that it's something that we can possibly achieve. So I'm going to use my book reading example. I think it's really, really easy, and I'm going to go a bit out of the order from SMART. They only put it in that order because it has the word SMART, it makes sense, but it don't always have to do it like that. So our reading example, specific. What do I want to do? I want to read business and entrepreneurial books. That's what I want to do. That's super specific. I need to read, and it needs to be business and entrepreneurial books. The next part is measurable. So how many books? Well, I'm going to call it 18 books. And this is a bit of a reverse of actually how I would have structured it in my mind to come up with the goal. But just to make it easy, we got our reading, business and entrepreneurial books. How many? 18. And then I'm going to skip ahead to time bound. So this is when do we want to have that achieved by? I'm going to call it a year. So read 18 business and entrepreneurial books in 1 year. Then our action, our A, this is how do we actually achieve that? And we want to try and keep this whole SMART objective in 1 or 2 sentences. So I'm going to read 18 business and entrepreneurial books in 1 year by reading 5% of a book a day. So there's our action. So that's actually how do we achieve the 18. And then the final step, is it realistic? Well, that's just something for me to consider. Can I possibly read 5%, which is about 15 to 20 pages a day? Of course I can. The only real challenge is going to be just the discipline to do it. And that's what I really want to challenge. I want to learn because I know reading is going to give me lots of learning opportunities, but it also will show that I can be disciplined enough and committed enough and have the self-control to make a daily commitment to something I think is valuable. So that's our SMART objectives. I'd encourage you to go back on our 5 levels of goals. So our financial, our learning, our health, our living, and our relationship goals. So look at each of those and all the subcategories that we talked about in video 1 and try and set SMART objectives based on all of them. So look at where you are based on all of those categories. Look at where do you want to go based on all of those categories. how are we going to close the gap and actually get there, and then what specific SMART objective goal are we going to write that's going to guide us through 2020 so that we can achieve these goals, because that's the main objective. So I just wanted to leave you with a couple little extra tips just to really help with the final setting of your new goals. The first one is to just write them down. It is so easy that if you don't write them down, you just forget about it. It only takes like a couple weeks and you've already forgotten about what that actual goal was. If we just think about our financial goal, for example, in a few weeks we might remember that we had a financial goal. It's unlikely that we're actually going to remember what that specific goal was. So just write it down. Keep it in a nice diary, somewhere safe, somewhere that's unlikely to just get lost or thrown away, and something that you're potentially looking at frequently. If you have a journal, put it in there, or whatever. Just find somewhere that's safe and sound where you can have it written down. And the final step is actually just showing someone else. So if it's a friend or a family member or just someone you trust who challenges you or mentors you, just show it to them, say, this is what the goals are, this is where I'm currently sitting, I've assessed myself, this is where do I want to achieve, this is how I'm going to get there, and this is the specific goal. What do you think about it? And just get their opinion, because they might say that's too realistic, that's too easy, or they might say it's too challenging, you need to just tone it down, do step-by-step process. But just having someone with an external perspective can be really valuable. So, final 2 steps. Write them down and tell a friend. Alright, I hope you found this super valuable. Remember, where are you currently sitting? Where do you want to go? How are you going to get there? And finally, our specific objective, and then write it down and tell a friend. I hope you found this valuable. Please, I'd love for you to share it on with a friend who might be wanting to set New Year's resolution goals. Because I believe they're super powerful, and if you want to make next year an insane year, because I definitely do, then I know that goal setting is the way to go. Now don't forget to come back next week for final video, video 3, about how to actually ensure success with those videos. I've got a bunch of tips with those goals, I've got a bunch of tips ready, so make sure you are there with a pen and paper, ready to write it down and ready to make 2020 an insane year for you. Alright, farewell, see you later.